again. This is Vika. Thank you for those who are online. We are happy to have you with us. Our Housemothers training was scheduled for tomorrow. However, we had an early slot and we thought, let's take it and continue with this very important and much needed training. Thank you for your registration. Please do carry on as you do join online throughout the session, as we would like your name, attendees, your organization, and email addresses so that we're able to have a follow-up of the session, and also to note that this recording will be made available with the training material on the NSM website. Just so that I see who, I'm not able to see your names online. So if you can just unmute and introduce yourself to us. House of Hope, you're welcome to start your introduction.
Yeah.
House of Hope.
Good morning.
Good.
Good morning. I'm Shalan Skumo. I'm a house mother at House of Hope in Worcester, Western Cape.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. How's the weather in the Cape today?
The weather is very windy here by us.
All right. Gauteng is having a lovely sunny but cool day. Thank you. Next. Anyone else from House of Hope?
No, they are in other trainings.
All right. For the duration of the training, if I can just ask for you to mute yourself. Thank you. Mercy House. For introduction. Oh, dear. House of Hope.
Yes.
Please mute yourself. On your Zoom link, in the left hand, on the left-hand side is a mute and unmute button. Thank you so much. Next shelter that would like to introduce themselves. Mercy Haven. Esther House.
Good morning. My name is Noktola Mkunu from Abrina Esther House in Pietermaritzburg.
Thank you very much. Welcome. All right. So let us proceed. Thank you very much for the introductions. I'm here this morning with my colleague who is going to introduce herself to you.
My name is Gladys Matipa. I'm the shelter manager at NISA Institute for Women's Development.
Thank you. Together, we have been doing annual Indaba presentations where we focus on the shelter and how we can enhance the environment. In 2021, we focused on the roles of the house mother in relation to their KPAs and how their work influences our caring environment. 2022, we focused on the self for self-awareness, as we found that many house mothers were experiencing burnout. So we focused on the self in terms of how to apply your knowledge, your skills within your role, but also how to care. This year, in line with our NSP model, we are looking at creating a safe and supportive caring environment within our shelter. Today, the aim is to allow house mothers to view their role as the important and key role in any sheltering process. Working together in a team is essential for the well-being not only of clientele, but the organization and the staff as a whole. Within each shelter, we have an organizational team structure. And the reason why we display this is because we want the house mother to see how they fit and are key in this environment. From the intake process right up to the exit of this client, returning back into community life, the house mother is going to make an impact. And we are here today to see how best we can use practices to facilitate this process. So when we look at our client, when she enters the door at the shelter, who is she? Why is she there? Is she accompanied by her children? What transpired for an individual to take the bravest step in gender-based violence, to raise their hand, call out for help, and seek shelter? The client that we serve is a client of crime and violence. She needs safe, sheltering, nurturing care, and psychosocial sessions. She's unique in her own way. She may be different to us, but when she is in our shelter, she becomes family. You may observe any signs of trauma, abuse, acting very fearful, emotional, having outbursts, and physical injuries, which you can observe when she comes through. Our goal is to best serve this client once she walks through that shelter gate in all spheres of her well-being. Once our client is admitted, we focus on needs. Each individual has different needs in society. Because we are in the profession of caring and a survivor-centered approach, we look at the main needs every individual has and we related it to our client. Spiritual needs, safety and security, self-actualization, physical, psychological, and emotional. All of those needs throughout the sheltering process needs to be met. Who is going to facilitate that? The team. Every single person who is at that shelter will facilitate the process of meeting this client's need. The approach helps us to aid in the recovery of this client, looking at a healing journey where she's come from and where she wants to be headed to. We're able to identify her needs and from there put forward intervention plans to achieve this. Most importantly, the rights of all survivors need to be respected. Dignity comes a long way for a client. The most basic need once she goes through that door is safety and security. And as a house mother, that is one of the key roles and functions you would play. House mother's roles. You are a caregiver, a house supervisor, a team player, a lay counselor, a mother figure to many clients as well as their beneficiaries. You are a mediator of conflict, a client liaison, a channel of communication that is utmost important in our client's functioning, and you are a representative of your organization. The characteristics that you display will impact the environment in either a negative or positive way. The client's experience is determined by your compassion, your care, your direction, and your facilitation. We need to always ensure that the client in front of us is a victim of crime and violence. Looking at creating a caring environment. In order for us to do that, we need to understand our role, our function, and how best we can achieve that. I'm going to hand over to my colleague as we go through the presentation, as I'd like to actually first start with the flow process of creating this caring environment. In other words, our step one, when we open up that door, when the client arrives, what is it that we are going to take the client through? Admission and introduction.
Good morning, everyone. As Ms. Lisa already mentioned that the house mother got a role and the client in the shelter. As soon as you open the gate for the client to come in, it's the responsibility for the house mother also to make sure that the person who is coming in, she's really in a crisis. You'll find that she is being abused physically, she's abused emotionally. Kinds of abuse can be happening to the client. As the key, the house mother is our role model there. She's going to make sure that she makes the client feel comfortable in the premises. She's going to introduce herself to the client as soon as she arrives there, and she will welcome her. By doing that, you can make sure that, remember, when we're hiring these house mothers also, we have to look at a person. We don't just take because people are looking for a job, because people are staying at home without any job. We have to look at the person that this person, is she gonna make our client feel comfortable? Remember, when you deal with different kinds of people, it's a very big challenge on us. Because when you see a person entering, sometimes you look at the person, you can think a lot of things, but by you, because you have been trained, that's why we said we need to train our house mothers also, and then they must know exactly what they have to do in the shelter. So after the house mother must introduce herself, and then she has to take the client to the office, as we got the main office where they go in when they enter the shelter, and then talk to her nicely. Make sure, make the client to feel at home. She is safe. Tell her that in this environment, there's a security. So try to explain to her that she is really safe, so nothing will happen to her. Because you'll find that when they arrive, they even shivering to say maybe the perpetrator is coming, following her. So, but make sure that you comfort her, and then you have to check with the client. Did you eat? You'll find that the client didn't eat the whole day. She's starving, but because it's the first time she met you, she can't just say, can I have food when she's, then it's your responsibility to talk to her nicely and make sure that you ask her nicely, can I offer you a cup of tea or coffee? And after that, you take it step by step. And then until where you gonna like give her the welcome pack, maybe you'll find that when she enters, she didn't went bath. Then it's whereby she need to take a bath, can take a shower, or she can take a bath, and then you feed her, and then you already, the minute you heard that the client is coming, I think by that time, the bed must be prepared for the client, because we know that, especially if we receive a call with the referral, we know that the client is coming with the children or alone, and then we prepare already. So it's the house mother's role to make sure that, okay, the bed is ready, the room is ready, introduce the client to the other client, make sure they must also make the new client to feel at home, not scared. You can even just tell the other client to say, you know what, this is our new client. I wanted to feel at home, because our clients, after maybe 2 days, you can even, when you look at the following day, you can look at them to say, it's not the one that I saw her last. She changed already. So the environment is also changing the place to say, oh, now I feel at home. She's trying to forget. And after that, everything, the intake, maybe it's where you have to do the referral, like to the social auxiliary work. If the client came during the weekend, then on Monday morning, already we got the WhatsApp group to say, we receive a client, so then everybody, all our colleagues, they have to know the situation over the weekend. So Monday, we're going to take the client through to the social auxiliary worker, then to do the proper intake while already the client is there. And then you can explain to the social worker how did it go, and then the client will at home.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gladys.
Very important. All the roles that we just heard now is practical in nature. But if any of those stages had to be skipped, we will have a gap in our service delivery to this client. A simple example. If we did not offer food at that moment, and supper is only scheduled for 6 and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, what is our client going through? What is she feeling? Yes, I'm in a safe environment, but my need is still not met. I'm sitting alone in the corner, but I see other female persons in the shelter that I don't even know. I feel I'm being judged. I haven't even bathed for the day. So all of those practical steps is key in creating a safe and nurturing environment. So how do we then apply the key elements? First and foremost, we mentioned the safety again, the most primary need. We need to ensure that the client knows where the panic buttons is, as an example. Should a fire occur, she needs to know the drill process of that shelter. She needs to know that it's her responsibility to keep that shelter safe from the perpetrator towards herself, towards other clients, as well as staff. One of the key rules in most inductions is that you cannot break the confidentiality or share the location of the shelter. So as much as we have roles in supporting the client, she too has the responsibility to maintain that the space is safe. Confidentiality, like my colleague said, bring her to the office, not just address her in the passage for other clients to hear while they're watching TV. So you're taking her aside to a separate space that is available to her. Tissues are present, water is available, tea is there, and it is comfortable, clean, and hygienic. The resources, we spoke about offering the care pack upon intake, is crucial in serving the dignity of that client. Should she come and she is faced with physical bruises, pain, and severe trauma, you need to make a call, house mother. Does my client need urgent medical care? And by attending to that, you've provided a resource to. And most importantly, to be non-prejudiced amongst our clients, not looking at their nationality, race, religion, or physical appearance, understanding who they are in that moment. Practical support, like we have mentioned, we look at containment, which is providing a warm blanket, locking all the doors, remaining calm, and reassuring the client they're safe from harm. Emotional support. Now, because the house mother is this first contact, it's most likely that a client will open up to a house mother and explain her reasons for sheltering. As a house mother, you are there to contain, listen, and refer. Acknowledge that the client has been through this process of pain and may be discomforted. Perhaps she displays anger. She has outbursts. Yes, there are rules in the shelter, but why is my client experiencing this? Does it relate to what she's been through? And most importantly, to stabilize her, regaining a sense of control, knowing her purpose, and setting routine is important. In most shelters, they'll have the opportunity for participating in the cleaning roster. Allow her to continue with that cleaning regime as she would have done in her own home. Make her feel part of that home with expectations. So we've mentioned an holistic framework of care, not only looking at the physical in terms of referrals to medical, having meals for nutrition, but looking at key elements such as spirituality. In our shelter, we are quite lucky to have a space that is meant for prayer. Regardless of your race and your religion, there is a quiet space that you are able to go to reflect spiritually, because that is part of your healing. Not for all clients, but if that is the need of the client, allow her then that space without judgment. If the environment is hostile within our shelter and unfriendly, what will happen to the shelter? What will happen to the client? Will it lead to distress? Are you just in this job because it's a paying job? Are you compassionate or passionate about what you're doing? Do you contribute effectively to the team? All of these questions we need to reflect on ourselves in order to know if we are in the right place and if we are here to serve. All principles are in line with the Batupelo principles, which is promoting high standards of quality care, displaying professional ethics, using the resources efficiently and effectively, and responding to the people's needs. Our roadblocks to communication, when we are with our client, what is it that we are doing wrong? How are we harming this client by displaying certain behaviors? These are called roadblocks in communication. They stop the process of transitioning a client into the healing space.
Remember, while we are in the shelter with our client, we are not there to judge our client. When you see the client coming, you don't have to judge it to say, oh, this one, she don't fit to be with us. We are there to serve them with respect. While we know that exactly when they are in our shelter also, we got our own way of working with the clients. When the client is doing something wrong in the shelter, you don't have just to like fighting the client, shouting her, telling her bad names. You just call her nicely to explain that this is wrong. You remember everywhere, even in the workplace, we got that a verbal warning. Then after that, we're going to have a written one. So then our client also, they like us if we are in the workplace. So while they are there, they do a lot of like mistakes. And then we talk to them nicely. Show our professional to them to say how we have to deal with the client. And then if the client as a house mother, she did something wrong, you have to speak to the social worker. And then the social worker is the one that she will do the letter of warning. And then the client also, she has to feel like, okay, whatever I did, she must see that whatever she did is wrong. And then sometimes they will apologize to say, I'm never gonna do it anymore. And we don't have to threaten them. We just have to explain to them how things have to be done in the shelter. And then also, we don't allow them to fight in the shelter. We don't allow them to fight physically. We're trying to put them together to make sure that we don't blame anyone also. We have to like make them to understand that we are a family. While they're in the shelter, we take them as our family. So then everything we do, we have to do it together, but we need also to have a boundary between the clients and the staff. Because if we don't have the boundary also, tomorrow we're gonna blame the client while it's us who we didn't have that boundary between the clients and ourselves as staff.
So these roadblocks are very important. And if you see in the little picture there, as a self-reflection exercise, maybe after this training, go through that list of roadblocks and really ask yourself, am I perhaps guilty of the following? Be honest with yourself. It's a self-reflection. You don't even have to share. And once you've identified your roadblock or blocks, prepare to work on them. And we're here for support. If there's any house mother that needs support, whether you're in the Western Cape, whether you're in Pietermaritzburg, we are a phone call away or an email away where we can help guide you in your role. There are many examples that I can use for roadblocks in communication, but we'll share it as we go along. Maintaining good client relations, the do's and the don'ts. Perhaps what we can do now is to go through the scenario. We've just selected a random scenario at our shelter to demonstrate to you what the do's would be and what the don'ts would be in that situation. As we go along, we'll open up the floor. Perhaps there's a scenario you can share with us that's currently happening. And let's provide each other with information and solutions on how to perhaps deal with that. So from our side, we'll give just a typical example of roadblocks in terms of service delivery.
Remember our client also, if we got 3 house mothers in the shelter, you're gonna find out that they're gonna look at them, they're gonna weigh them, say, this one, she's good. This one, she's bad. This one, she's in the middle. When you're working with the clients, you can, for example, you can just say, oh, okay, maybe the cook today is not here. Let me cook for them because the cook is not at work today. You're gonna cook a nice meal for them, and then they will eat and enjoy it. There comes the other day. Maybe the cook went to the clinic because, you know, nowadays we're sick, right? We're going to the clinic very often. Then when the cook said, I'm going to get my medication at the clinic, the other house mother will say, no, guys, can you cook? Because the cook is not here. They're going to look at the house mother to say, oh, this one, she's not good. Gladys, she's very good. Lisha, she's very bad because she's not cooking for us. Which is, by us, we didn't want to go there. We trying to be like in their shoes, like to help them, but they don't see us like helping them. They see us like we have to do it. The other thing, the client also, they can cause the conflict between the colleagues. They can make us to fight. As long as we're not going to sit down and look at the way things are happening in the shelter, you're gonna find us fighting a very, very, very in a bad way. And at the end of the day, is the client who caused that problem. So the client can come to you, for example, she can go to the house mother to say, can I go out, or to the center manager, I want to go to the shop. Maybe you say, you want to go to the shop, go tell your social worker that you're going to the shop. She said, no, she's very busy. She's busy. Oh, all right, you can go. She will go. The following day, the other one will go to the social worker. She'll say, I want to go to the shop. Can I go out? The social worker said, no, you can't go out. She's coming inside the house to the manager to say, can I go to the shop? The manager, because she didn't know that already she went to the social worker, she might just say, okay, you can go quickly and come back. Then tomorrow, we find out that, oh, she started that side, the answer was no. Then inside the answer was yes. It's whereby we sit down and look at to say, okay, during the week, when the house mothers are inside with the manager in the shelter and the social workers are maybe in their back rooms, they must go and report outside by the auxiliary social worker and the social worker. Then over the weekend, it's whereby they can report by the house mothers. Because we really look at it that it's causing a lot of problems to the workers.
So we identify gaps in our service delivery and we work together towards solution. And in that demonstration, if you could see, teamwork was very important. If we have to work in isolation and only have the client work with us in one way, either client will manipulate us or our service won't be beneficial to the client. So creating teamwork, providing that communication leads to changes, perhaps in the way that you do everyday activity. I will now open up the floor to any shelter that would like to share an instance of a challenge that they are currently having, whether it is conflict, whether it is teamwork related, clientele, resources that could be a challenge, any scenario that you would like to share. And in that way, together we'll look at the do's and the don'ts. Anyone? Reason why I would like for us to share is so that we can identify if our experiences are perhaps the same. And if they are, how can we today commit ourselves to changing that environment from being hostile to being comfort and caring? I will just randomly call out perhaps House of Hope. Would you like to share with us?
No.
Thank you. Stlungile. Is Stlungile online?
Yes, she's online.
Thank you. Is there anything you would like to share with us for
Uh,
brainstorming?
Currently, there's nothing that I would like to share because currently at our shelter, we're not experiencing challenges with regards to our clients going outside and coming back to the shelter.
All right. I love the word no challenges. Tell us how you do that. What is in place in order for you not to have challenges at the end of the day? What is your processes like that facilitates clearly this caring environment?
Usually, when
Based,
our clients want, sorry,
no,
usually when
please
they
continue.
Okay. Usually, when they want to go out, they'll report to me. Then I'll go to the house mothers and check, did so and so report that she wants to go out? Then the house mother will
All right.
inform me that she reported. Then we'll let the person sign out and then go wherever she wants to go. Then also, when coming back, they'll come back and report to the house mother, then report to me that, okay, we are back. And then they'll sign the shelter.
And this movement that you allow for, I'm assuming some of it is for referrals, but is there any private movement that you allow? For example, going to the shops to buy ice cream? Oh,
Sorry, Miriam,
sorry,
please
not
repeat.
just want to see who's unmuted. I'm not able to see, but could you please unmute or mute rather?
Okay. Ndiphumile ke ngoku. Ndimyuthile ilanto zabantu ndiphinde.
Hi, good day. Could you please mute? Thank you so much. Thank you, Slungile. So what I was asking is, for example, your movement. I'm assuming that there is referral-based movement. And my question now is, do you allow clients to go for shopping, as an example, for visiting families over the weekend, for church attendance? And what is that process like?
With regards to the referral movement, we usually accompany them. For example, when the client has to go to court, we usually assign one person to accompany the client to court. But with regards to visiting families, we currently don't have any clients who visit families. With regards to going to the pharmacies and the shops, they are allowed to go there. But we also set time for them that please make sure that you come back to the shelter early. You don't waste a lot of times on the shops. Or for example, if it happens that that person wants to go and drop a CV, someone will inform that lady that please go and quickly come back to the shelter. Don't spend a lot of time outside the shelter.
All right. So I'm hearing that you have rules in place, time boundaries, as well as signing in and out and reporting. All right, thank you for that. That helps us see perhaps if there is a gap, how we can fill that gap. And thank you for sharing with us. Anyone else? Then I will continue. So the do's and the don'ts of maintaining good relations and services. We've mentioned don't make judgments, show bias or prejudice, or let your cultural and beliefs impact negatively on another clientele. Don't be pushy, intrusive, or offer advice. This is a case example of a shelter who came to me in desperation because of the situation, where a house mother had told the client, or asked the client rather, what is it that this is about 3 weeks into admission. So what is the real reason that you're at the shelter? Client's response is, the reason is because my husband and I are having marital problems. He has a drug and alcohol addiction. And as a result, at most times, we break out in fights, arguments, and he ends up beating me to the point where I lose consciousness. House mother says, but is it not your religion to stay in your marriage and not leave your house? Client responded and said, yes, I have a faith. I do believe in my faith, but right now I feel my life is at risk. House mother continued to ask client further information and detailed information on her case. She then went to another colleague without knowing that other clients were in the background and spoke about this client. Did you know that Leisha is here and this is what the husband did? And this is how many times he did it. And this is, and she went on, and all the clients heard. Some clients went to sympathize with the individual and others actually ridiculed the client. So house mother's behaviors and prejudice influenced that situation. House mother went back to the client and said to the client that she needs to make amends with her husband, as no wife is supposed to walk out of that door. All the don'ts in one scenario can be presented in that scenario. Confidentiality, judging, putting pressure and societal norms on the client, being intrusive and digging deeper, not conforming to her role, and sharing the client's story with others. Such crucial information or actions can lead to the destruction of a client. She may never be able to value relationships again, or even trust again, because of one incident where someone had pressured her into conforming in her belief system. So yes, have your belief systems, practice it in the way that you would, but do not impose onto the clients. Providing information is key to the clients. Providing options is beneficial, but giving directives will harm the relationship and the service of our shelters. However, flip side, do create a positive environment. Be helpful in everything. Not only do our actions speak, but so does our words. Non-verbally, if you display aggression to a client, she will pick that up. That will impact the environment. Always ensure the client's confidentiality within limits. Participate in reducing the risk of gender-based violence in your shelters. Provide immediate assistance and comfort. Check in with the client on a regular basis and deal with complaints immediately. We always say, put yourself in the client's, your shoes. Put the client's shoes on in order to view her the way that she is. And then we have children beneficiaries too. And this is a wonderful space for house mothers to be active in, as that little one looks up to you as either an auntie or even refers to you as Mama Gladys. Providing warm and comfort, supervising the children, and most importantly, together with the mother. House mothers are not there to babysit, but to supervise children together with the mother's presence. Providing corrective disciplinary measures with children, such as time out for naughty, mischievous behavior versus corporal punishment. Providing opportunities to grow, play, and learn. If house mom is busy in the kitchen and cutting maybe veggies, as an example, give the toddler the veggie to touch, to feel, to smell, to throw around. That is aiding in his or her development of touch, sight, and sound. Play games. In fact, the Auntie Ms. Gladys has a wonderful example of a toddler boy that we had at the shelter who was potty training. And I'd like to actually share that story with you, just to demonstrate to you that children, as much as they seen as just being in the shelter, playing around, crying, they are actually key role in creating a positive environment. And Gladys, you can share the story of the little boy.
Okay, the little boy, because the mother was working. So we were there, all of us, to take care of the little boy. So when he comes to the shelter with the mother, he used to talk a little bit, but when you explain to him, he did understand exactly. So I saw him like when he want to help himself, he just sits all over around the shelter. He didn't like tell anyone that I want to go to the loo. He was just like sit all wherever I feel like. Then I tried to make a song to him. Then I'm not gonna call his name. I'm gonna like
Yeah.
the name, and then I just said, okay, John, don't make caca anyway. Go make caca in the toilet. So that song, he liked it because when he want to make caca, he started singing the song, and then Julian, don't make caca anyway. Go make caca in the toilet. While he's singing the song, he's going right to the toilet. Then we were always like, wow, that song, it helped that little boy. And then until when they left the shelter.
I just find it so sweet and amazing. As mom was struggling with John, for example, and potty training, and mom had felt that she could do no more because John just poopied anywhere he found suitable. But then center manager Auntie Gladys, Mama Gladys intervened and put a beautiful little song in his mind to allow him to find responsibility in helping himself in the toilet. And I'm hoping one day when he's an adult, he can reflect back to that song and then, yeah, share a smile. We had a scenario for everyone for us to go through. And then we had reflection questions at the end. I'm going to leave that for last because the floor seems to be quite quiet. And
Okay. The shelters are exist because clients need a safe place to stay. We are the workers in the shelters. We need to make sure that our clients are safe. If the care facility officers that are not in line with the best practice, then we're going to have a challenge. This comes create a negative working and saving environment for all. If the client service is weak, remember when the client always, she has to come out from the shelter with a positive, whatever she received in the shelter to say, I was in a certain shelter and then I came out with this. But if you're going to find out that when the client leave the shelter, she left the shelter with empty. At the end of the day, it's like we're not saving anything to the client. We are just there, I don't know. So we have to make sure that our clients, they get something from us before before they leave the shelter. And then also, if we're not doing that, the donors also or the funders also, they might pull out to say, there's no service in that shelter. So why must we give them funding? Because we don't see them doing anything to the client, which is they are there for nothing. So then when they pull out in other ways, we taking the organization down. We're not lifting up the organization. We are there to make sure that the organization is existing and then we're taking it somewhere. All of us as a staff, by doing a teamwork, I think a teamwork is the key for us to build our organization. So I hope all the shelters, they have to make sure that by working together, they're going somewhere and when they will get something. Thank you.
Very true. Absolutely. And once we determine what we need to put in place, what challenges we have, we focus on the future and the solution. Good employee relations lead to good teamwork. You represent the organization in the image that you portray. Your professionalism speaks volumes. It's not just about you as an employee, but you as a needed resource in this client's development. The level of service of teamwork increases your client experience and builds the image of what you are representing. Key growth areas within ourselves, our professional ethics, as well as our personal ethics, will highlight and radiate without even having to do anything. And most importantly, good reviews, client successes, and staff development increases the shelter's goal and promotes the reason why we are there, to render a service in meeting our clients' needs. As we conclude, once we've shared the presentation, perhaps we can do the scenarios individually in our shelters, maybe do an online sort of group discussion and caring, and we can share from there. Before we close, is there any questions, reflections, or comments? Thank you for your registrations. We will make everything available to you. I'd like to thank my colleague, Center Manager, for participating in our core function and work. I am pleased to serve with you in the shelter in creating a better space for our clients and ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lisha.
Before we log off, one more, please can everyone log into the chat, share your names, details, so that we are able to connect with you. If you could do that just before we log off, and then also presentations will be made available according to the email addresses that you gave. Questions? We thank you all for participating, for sharing in this experience, and hoping to learn more with you in our service for client development and care.
Before everyone logs off, can I ask you to just share your name, organizational details, and email addresses in the chat box? We know who to share the presentations with.
Everyone has shared. We can close off the session. Thank you for joining us and looking forward to sharing with you in the rest of our presentations over the 2 days. Bye.